Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Top Ask Us Anything. I think it's fair enough to say that this week's news has been dominated by Tesla's Q2 earnings results. I guess the short answer is they crushed it. They absolutely smashed all expectations. A big shout out to Rob Mauer from Tesla Daily. I'm going to just borrow some of his research. And as we can see, basically the big figures are the non-GAAP earnings of $1.6 billion just for the quarter, which is 52% more than the street estimates. And Tesla's GAAP net income is $1.142 billion. And that's a whole 89% more than the street had predicted. Which is really just, amazing. And particularly when you get to the actual earnings call, and it was explained that Tesla had a lot of adversity in actually producing all the cars it did. And a big source of that adversity was the lack of semiconductor microcontrollers, to the extent that Tesla had to come up with 19 controller variations to actually get their production through to the levels that they did, which were record production figures, record deliveries, and record earnings. And that's really just an astounding result, because if Tesla had done this in the best of best times, it would have been outstanding. But really, they're going through a hell of a lot of adversity at the moment. And yet they've still absolutely smashed their revenue figures or their earnings figures. So it's a fantastic result. And I think another shout out to Rob Mauer. He did a very small segment with Jim Cramer. Yep. And thanks Pete. And he basically said this.
Can I give you one more point? It's going to be super quick. This is the secret. This is the secret. I think everyone is missing this right now with Tesla. So they demonstrated this quarter how profitable the business is structurally with just Model 3 and Model Y. There's almost no volume from S and X. There's actually a loss on that business. When S and X comes in the fold, that's going to be another $2.5 billion in revenue a quarter. It's going to be another $750 million in gross profit, and the fixed costs are already there. So almost all that's going to drop down to operating income and the bottom line. When that happens, that's going to add about 50 cents earnings per share to Tesla's earnings per share, GAAP earnings per share. That's going to bring the forward PE basically to 100 at current levels. And as we just talked about, they're poised to triple with Berlin and Texas. So people are missing this. It's an opportunity, I think. So I just want to get that point across here.
So there you go. Just a few years ago, Models S's and X's were all Tesla made. And now in this Q2 figure, they're basically a rounding error. But next quarter, when they start ramping to full production, that they are the highest earnings or profit. They have the largest profit margins of all the 4 cars that they're currently producing, that being S and X. So as Rob has quite rightly said, that's going to add another 50 cents per share in earnings on top of what they've already done in the second quarter.
And this quarter's earnings per share were about $1.45. So that's that's another 33% increase, to put that into perspective.
Which is just mind-blowing. Strangely so, everyone's scratching their heads as far as why hasn't Tesla's share price sort of popped up. But I mean, it's one of those traditional things where a lot of people resist that good news and maybe focus in on some of what they would call the bad news, which is what Elon Musk was describing as the challenge of the chips. He also described that, and this is actually good news, they had a contingency plan for the 4680 cells going into Model Ys in Berlin and Texas, which, by the way, he did confirm would be going into production this year. The Cybertruck he was a bit more pessimistic in saying that their alpha, I think it's alpha prototypes or alpha candidates were being produced this year, but really the implication is Cybertruck is not going to have any meaningful production until next year. But by having a contingency for the Models Y in Berlin and Texas, to be able to use 2170s if they needed to and still produce vehicles. Speaking of contingencies, what was interesting was that it was completely confirmed that Tesla is entirely battery constrained. So their mega packs, which are the huge grid scale battery storage systems, are basically sold out for all of next year, all of their production. Now, what they basically said is that whichever way the pendulum swings as far as a shortage being in place, whether that be silicon chips or other things, they will simply direct the battery flow to wherever it can be sold. Bearing in mind that both arms are production, well, they're really resource constrained. So if they sell a few less cars, they'll simply sell more mega packs. If they have more cars they can sell, they'll simply sell less mega packs and Powerwalls. I think Powerwalls, they were talking about having a run rate or a production run rate once they've got full cell availability of 20,000 Powerwalls per, was that week?
No, month, I think. I think it was about 5,000 a week, wasn't it?
No, it was
No.
1 million per year.
How much?
1
A
million.
million.
Million
Oh,
a
sorry.
year.
Right, so that's
That's about
20,000 a
20,000 a week, yeah.
yes. Yes, 20,000 a week, which is amazing. So, you know, it's really, you know, one argument against Tesla's share price being worth more than the top, well, the next 5 combined car manufacturers, apart from the fact that Tesla is not just a car manufacturer. But one of the arguments against this huge valuation was, oh well, its price to earnings ratio is over 1,000. Well, I think now it's approaching 370, something like that. I think. And as Rob has just explained in his video, when Model S and X production comes in, it'll be approaching 100. So I guess you could either say that, well, Tesla's share price definitely is worth the price it is currently, or if you thought it was good value when the PE was 1,000, it ought to be 10 times more valuable. And
Now
obviously somewhere, go Pete.
I was just going to say that's a forward PE. The forward PE for Amazon is about 60, yet Tesla's growing at a much faster rate. So, you know, just based on that metric, it would tell you there's some more gains to be had. Potentially.
Yeah, absolutely, because I guess you could imagine that Amazon is, well, I wouldn't say it's approaching saturation, but they've got deep penetration in their business. Whereas the EV market is it 2% of car sales globally?
Yeah.
So Tesla's got nothing but blue sky as far as potential market. And they're severely constrained. They are simply resource constrained at the moment. The reason why they only sold 201,000 cars, delivered 201,000 cars last quarter, is because they didn't have the resources to build more of them. And as soon as they get those resources, they were putting them into play.
He did say something along the lines of he was expecting a continuous annual growth rate of 50% until 2030, was it?
Yep.
He's said that a few times, but on this earnings call, he actually said minimum 50%, maybe 100% for next year on a year-on-year basis.
I mean,
And
that's just phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. I mean, that's exponential growth. But he then went on to say that in terms of the rollout of the Supercharger network, it would have to outpace the growth of the vehicle production business, the car production rate. So the Supercharger network is expecting to grow at obviously more than 50 to 100%.
In fact, that was some more news that came out of the earnings call, was Elon Musk has absolutely confirmed what we sort of really knew, which is that the Supercharger network will be open to all EVs, and it'll be via an extraordinarily simple process. Any EV owner simply download, well, let's say in the United States, downloads a Tesla app, or the Tesla app, registers their payment details, then purchases an adapter, which the rest of the world will not need to do. So in Australia, EV owners won't need an adapter. And then they simply use the Tesla app, go to a stall, tell the app which store you're at, and to start charging. And that's as simple as that. And then Tesla can greatly utilize all their capital infrastructure, charging infrastructure, and expand it because they'll have much more utilization. So it's a real revolution as far as EV charging is concerned for all EVs. And in the United States, they have the largest amount of resistance in that, unfortunately, because of historical reasons, they built their own connector because there was nothing at the time, and that's not ended up being the world standard. So in the United States, there's a bit more friction. I think he mentioned they actually have adapters available at Superchargers. I think he joked, providing people don't steal them, but I think Zach Kirkhorn had some sort of a smug reaction that said, "Oh no, we've got ways around that, or to prevent that," which I mean could be something as simple as stainless steel tether to an adapter attached to the stall or something like that. But that's really good news. Wouldn't it be lovely if Tesla decided to completely encircle Australia in superchargers and make them open to the whole EV public?
Be quicker.
Oh, it'd be extraordinarily quick because they've got the battery packs, they've got solar panels. Look, that's debatable. They might be a bit expensive in Australian standards, but you can always get lots of solar panels in Australia. They're pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And
Go see Don.
you've got the chargers. Oh, and look, and for remote area access, you've got Starlink. So you don't even have to worry about the internet because you've got that all in the bag. It's all in the family. But yeah, that was a good scoop there. Yeah, the superchargers. So they're opening them up, and obviously as a result, we'll be greatly expanding it. And as Elon Musk says, they have to expand it at faster than the rate that they're actually producing cars, or at least match that rate, which is extraordinary. Because if you're sort of doubling year on year, well, you've got to start doing that with superchargers everywhere, as do all the other charging providers, because EVs are an avalanche, a tsunami. And we're only at the very thinnest edge of that tsunami. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Speaking of superchargers, and we all know that there's a supercharger that's being built at Karrinyup. Now, no one really knows when it's going to open, but I can say that on Karrinyup's own press release, they state, and I quote, "Karrinyup Shopping Centre the Tesla Supercharger station will be open to the public on Thursday, the 29th of July, coinciding with the major launch of Karrinyup Stage 1, which will celebrate the opening of 60 new stores at the Fresh Market and Karrinyup's urban fashion offering, The Loop, ground level." So, according to Karrinyup's published press release, the supercharger station will be open tomorrow. Now, we as a club don't know that that's the case. We've had no confirmation that that's the case, but that is according to Karrinyup's own press release. So that's exciting times. So no doubt there'll be lots of us having a look around tomorrow. What we can confirm is where the supercharger station is underneath the cinema. So it's in the southwest corner of Karrinyup. So I think it's the second access road to the west end of Karrinyup going north. I haven't got its name actually, but it's near the BP service station. You basically go up, and if it's open, and they have been finishing off landscaping and all that sort of stuff, you basically sort of go up to the roundabout, turn rightish, sort of diagonally across, down in the underground car park, and let's hope it's open. Like I said, according to Karrinyup's press release, they state it will be open to the public. The supercharger station will be open to the public tomorrow.
Hey,
So say again.
Uh,
Oh, sorry, Nigel, if that was you, you just glitched out.
Yeah, I'm having.
Yes, you are. You're having. Sorry, say that one more time.
I think Elon's having difficulty with his ventriloquist dummy.
Internet connection problems. When will it appear on PlugShare? Joseph,
Oh no, you can't put it on PlugShare. The superchargers are one item that PlugShare reserve the rights directly to Tesla. So it's actually Tesla themselves that put it on PlugShare. There is no supercharger nozzle that you and I can select when we add a new place. At best, all you can do is, call it a CCS, which it actually is, but you can't call it a supercharger pin. And to be honest, it'll be quite difficult to actually pinpoint precisely where it is on the map because it's underground, so you haven't got really an accurate reference. So it'll actually be quite interesting once that pin appears in our cars, because it will probably need some instructions on how to get there, such as you need to go underground because it's not obvious. If they place it accurately, all it does is it's inside a building. So, obviously most of us, as we get there for the first time, will have to sort of drive around. But like I said, you just focus in on the southwest corner under the cinemas, which is still under construction, I think, or at least there's cladding and stuff that's still going on. So don't go on, Pete.
I was just going to say, you might want to mention the club's Twitter handle, and we'll try and obviously keep that updated. Yep.
Yeah, so that's Tesla_WA. So as soon as we get confirmation, or put it this way, if we go there tomorrow and we find it open, then we'll certainly tweet that out. So one way or another, we'll know and get that out to everyone. Or if we get there and it's closed, perhaps if it hasn't yet been commissioned or completed, then we'll also tweet out, hey, it's not quite ready yet. Don't waste your trip, unless of course you're just curious to have a drive by. But I dare say with 90 new shops opening and a grand opening, it's going to be chockers. So, but rest assured, the supercharger stores are well marked out. It's very clear that it's Tesla supercharging only. I dare say that if there are any issues, there will be security that will just be reminding ICE car owners that this is just for Tesla vehicles. But it's exciting times. It's been basically 4 years in the promising. Tesla promised this supercharger in Perth, or a supercharger in Perth, in 2017 and 2018 and 2019 and 2020.
And Elon replied to Jason's tweet in March 2019 when he was asking for Jason, one of the Tesla Owners Club members, and so Elon replied to him directly when he asked about a service centre, a store, and a supercharger in Perth. And Elon replied and said, okay. So he's delivered on all three.
Yes, if it opens tomorrow, we can. And this is it's actually, look, I feel a little bit sad because a few years ago, Eaton got the honour of being the world's loneliest supercharger location. It was furthest from any other supercharger in the world. And then, sadly, it lost that crown to a very lonely supercharger in a city in Kazakhstan.
Not for long.
Fair enough, but then, I think, Eaton just didn't sort of lose hope. And ironically, Tesla decided to put 2 supercharger locations in the mighty country of Kazakhstan. So then Eaton regained its crown as being the loneliest supercharger on earth. And I guess all things going well, tomorrow it's going to permanently lose that. And that's kind of sad in a happy way. So there you go. Interesting times. And of course, it's going to be backed up in in a couple of quarters. Let's call it 6 or 9 months' time by what's now called the Perth Supercharger. So that's going to be exciting because no doubt, now this is something that we are aware of. Just a caveat with the current Supercharger is it's not currently 24/7 access.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I think it's initially going to close at 10 p.m.
11.
Later, it'll close at 1 a.m. Which is, and I think it might open. It might be at 7, something along the lines of 7 a.m. So it's not ideal if you're an Uber or a taxi and you need to take people to the airport. FIFOs at 5 a.m. I guess you've just got to have prepared to have charged the night before, or just hang out until opening at 7 or whenever the gates open. But it is what it is. Perhaps the next location in Perth might be 24/7. Let's hope. But I guess for all of us who have been waiting for many, many years, I mean, Rob, how long have you waited for a supercharger in Perth?
7 years.
7 years. Isn't it something? Did you break a mirror or something when you bought your car, Rob? Because it's normally 7 years bad luck, isn't it?
I should have recorded the phone call when there's a guy called Stone, American guy that was over setting up Tesla. And he rang me to congratulate and ordering a car. And he said, there'll be superchargers all over Perth next year. And I believed him.
You know what? You should have bet him 100 Tesla shares that there won't be. He probably would have taken that bet because 7 years ago, those shares would have been cheap.
About $30 each.
Yes. That'd be a pretty penny now. So there you go. Now, is there anyone new tonight? I think Elsie, welcome to Ask Us Anything. We're delighted to welcome you to our casual meetup a couple of Wednesdays ago. And John, I'm not sure if you've been on before, but if you haven't, welcome, and if you have, welcome back. And
thank you very much.
Florian, welcome to your first Ask Us Anything. And I think everyone else has been here before.
Hi.
Yes, we got you. Welcome. So the format is basically, for anyone new, it's just an open forum. We just have a couple of light drinks and discuss all things Tesla. One of the first things I should remind everyone of who is new, who may not yet know it, and it's something I kick myself when I forget to do it, is if you've got a new EV, go onto Synergy's website or just Google, actually it's easier just to Google Synergy EV tariff. That will get you about a 30% discount on your power consumption for the entire house from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. The only stipulation is you have to have bought your car in your natural name, not a business name. If you bought it through a business entity, then it won't qualify. But if you have bought it in your own name and you're the account holder or a delegated account holder, because you can actually delegate that responsibility, you can then score your overnight charging and any electricity your house uses overnight at a discounted rate. I think it's roughly 20 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's a great deal. Costs you, I was going to say costs you nothing. There is a small fee, but I think you actually get most of that back. Is that right? I think a couple of people that have, yes, Nigel's nodding. Yes, I'll take it as a yes. You get most of that back in the first little bit. I think it's roughly $100 and something for a meter reprogramming fee.
It's about $5. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And I don't think that actually goes up if you've got like a basic spinny round oldie weldy meter. I think they will just upgrade that anyway. I don't think they charge you extra for that. And in fact, Western Power are actually in a phase of phasing those out. In any case, it's also the good thing about the EV tariff is it's compatible with your solar feed-in tariff. It doesn't affect any other settings you have on the standard domestic tariff of 29 cents per kilowatt hour, 24/7. The only thing it's not compatible with would be something like the smart tariff, which is the one that has the highly discounted, I think it's 15 cents or 16 cents per unit overnight, and then a 51-cent peak rate during the afternoon peak or evening peak. It's not compatible with that, but in any case, it doesn't matter because the overnight rate for that tariff is lower anyway. But yeah.
The only thing to be careful of is in case you're on one of those, what I call legacy time of use tariffs that are no longer offered by Synergy. If you change your tariff, it means, and you then decide you wanted to go back to the tariff that you were on previously, you won't be able to do that. And some of those legacy tariffs have been discontinued for a reason because they are quite attractive. So yeah, just make sure. Most people are just on the standard A1 tariff, in which case, yeah, you'd be much better off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you got the A1 tariff, it's literally a no-brainer. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. It's all upside. But perhaps any other tariff you have, you've got to do your research and just run the numbers to what suits you.
It's just that $100, and if you think you won't get $100 worth of savings in a time that would be acceptable to you, then that's perhaps the only time you wouldn't do it.
But certainly, if you've got a large aircon system on a hot summer's night, you're going to get a lot of that money back pretty quickly overnight, or even in winter for heating, for that matter. So yeah, that's pretty cool. What else?
Actually, while we're talking about stocks, BHP announced late last week that they're supplying nickel to Tesla. Tesla's actually, I found out, they spend about $1 billion in Australia each year on things like lithium and nickel, cobalt. So yeah, it's good to know that there's quite a bit of Australian content in our cars.
The only thing we haven't got, which Elon Musk always says is the most logical thing to do, is to actually locate a gigafactory at the mine site. And since Australia is notionally Tesla's mine site, because we mine alumina to make aluminium, we mine iron ore to make steel, we've got nickel, I think we've actually got a little bit of cobalt somewhere stashed. I think it's in Victoria somewhere. It's a small deposit.
Yeah. Harold, I actually I think I read a report a while ago on what we do and we don't have. We out of these, the 10 things that we really do need to make batteries, I think the only one that we don't have in any great quantity is graphite, which would be the anode.
Yes.
Typically, but we have strategic reserves of that, but we have everything else.
Yeah, we do. And you know, apart from volume, it makes perfect sense to put a gigafactory here, if not for cars, certainly for batteries, because we've probably got a big enough domestic market for stationary storage that Tesla could put a rather large battery plant.
We do, and they could. The problem is that we don't have the processing to turn it into materials that a gigafactory would need, and that's the missing ingredient. We do for the Nickel West processing for
Kwinana.
Yeah, Kwinana. Processing lithium though. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, it's not the finished product that needs to go into a battery factory. It's the raw resources.
That said, though, we have all the expertise. We've got a relatively stable political system, one could argue. We've got one of the best, if you wanted to produce, if you wanted the production to be sustainable, and, we've got probably Australia's got the best solar resources of any continent in the world. We've got, great wind resources, the roaring 40s down along the bottom of Australia. There isn't.
I 100% agree. It's insanity that we don't.
Yeah.
And also COVID safe. That's something else.
True. No, that's
true.
an important point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the government to be prepared to do it. So to protect it.
Yeah, absolutely. So come on, Elon, we know you're watching. And you just, you're obviously lurking on our site.
I can see him behind Nigel.
He'd be taking notes now, Harold.
Yes. Well, actually, Elon, it was interesting. It was great to see that you mentioned that you will no longer be spending time at the quarterly earnings calls because you're a busy man. You need, obviously, to apply that extra time to getting some more resources into Australia. So that means more superchargers, you need more mining agreements, and you need to build a factory in Australia. And if you build it, we will come and look at it and admire it in the awesome cars that your company builds. So yeah, come on, Elon, spend that time wisely. Come to Australia.
Amen.
Oh, Nigel, he's already here.
He is lurking.
Don't get up his nose. Now, sort of segueing, this is actually a good reference to our upcoming casual meetup, which I don't know if anyone sort of worked it out, but it's the closest pub to Karrinyup for unusual reasons. Rob's actually done an excellent article in The Driven, which basically poses the question, who is responsible for test the destination charges? So I recommend that everyone gives that a read. Unsurprisingly, we are really responsible for the upkeep of these things and the way we use them, and basically, how we behave, how we interact with the owners of the destination charges, and how we treat them, as a bit of a privilege, not as a right. So there you go. That's Rob's latest article. But yes, the casual meetup is at the St. George Hotel in Innaloo, just around the corner from Karrinyup. Sadly, there are no pubs or anything larger in Karrinyup yet. So we look forward to seeing everyone there at 11 a.m. on Sunday.
Cool. Just to butt in just a second there. Talking about the destination charges, had a really good experience at the Harbourside Apartments in Albany a couple of weeks ago. Arrived there a bit low because there'd been a bit of a wind and in the Kona, and it was quite late in the evening, but there was an ice parked in the closest bay to the charger, which is not marked out to be electric. And the owners of the apartment were very nice in going over to ask them to move. But I think it's important to realize that, they wouldn't have known that there was an electric vehicle there. So, charger. So it is really nice of them to have given up the bay. They had to move 2 bays away on a cold, wet and rainy night. And so we have to take into account that, it's not a case of somebody icing you on purpose necessarily. It is really, it's kind of a not a privilege, but it's it's something that we need, but they don't have to give us necessarily, but they're attracting us to their destination charges, and we should just be nice when we request that the bay is to be used by us, or can be used by us.
Yeah, that place is actually very nice. I've stayed there, and I stayed in that ground floor unit where the charger is earlier on this year. And the people there are really very, very nice and helpful.
And whenever you're using a charger at someone's business, always look to see if you can reciprocate the favour by, maybe give.
Winding the lead up.
What's that?
Maybe just wind the lead up when you finish with it, like the photo.
Well, yes, but yeah, look, just if you can spend any money, at the business, it only makes sense. By the way, congratulations! I hear are in order, and here you've got another wagon in your stable.
Yes, and thanks for all the advice from those at the meet on Saturday, the track meet, including Harold, who basically I negotiated a good price, which I won't disclose, but with Joseph, and I've got the car, and I think the best I got the best outcome. I mean, it is it has done 100,000 Ks.
I'm shocked. How could Joseph's car possibly do 100,000 Ks in 18 months? That's unbelievable.
That's quite low for Joseph.
And that's only the distance that is driven between charges.
I'm not going to make any comment about it being the distance he's driven between write-offs, but
Joseph would drive to Sydney to Albany via Sydney if he could. The thing is, it's actually not my car. I must just just make a correction there. That car that you see behind me is my wife's car, and she doesn't drive much. Our Leaf has seen maybe 40,000 in 5 years. So that 100,000 Ks will definitely average over the next few years to be much lower, and therefore it'll look much more like an average Tesla in terms of range covered.
does that mean there's a Leaf up for grabs?
It does, but the Leaf is kind of going to hang around a while until my kids are, or at least my oldest, has got onto P plates.
Surely that Leaf should just be left to be put onto a compost pile.
oh yeah, bad jokes. Oh my goodness. So the other news, I'm not sure if I said it at one of the last Wednesdays, was that I'm actually now working for the RAC, which gives me a unique insight into how they think. But as it turns out today, I got pinged. Being
recorded. Sorry, I just say this goes to YouTube, so.
No, it's all great, lovely company. The thing is, today I was pinged by one of the guys there. They've got sort of an internal EV owners club. So they pinged me and said, "Oh, can you join? We hear you joined, and you've got three EVs." So I said, "Yeah, how did you know that?" It spread around pretty fast.
Cool. So you get 3 votes in the club. You should get one per car.
Yeah, you should. I guess that counts here too, hey?
Absolutely. Theoretically, not. No, we're democratic. We only get 1 vote per head. But your wife is certainly more than welcome to join with her car.
Yeah, true.
So you're going to get some workplace charging there, perhaps?
I think there's enough workplace charging downstairs. No,
Yeah, but it needs
yeah,
a
I know what you mean on level one. Yeah, I was thinking about that because I went and looked at the rather poorly, well, the poorly serviced parking opposite on at the Watertown parking, which is what I think RSA leases, and the two Leafs and the Leaves, I guess, and BMW are pretty dirty and unloved. I don't think anybody drives them anymore from the look of it. They're I think I might even take them out because staff members are entitled to borrow them on occasion. I might just use them to go up to a field visit or whatever, to make sure that they are used, and inquire with them whether they have got any workplace charging. But I mean, if they've got fast chargers downstairs, they basically just go over and charge the car up and then repark it, which is the normal way of doing things.
Cool.
Harold, I'd like to put in an apology for the meetup. I managed to acquire a really, really long extension cord, and we're off to the country for our first country visit on Sunday. We're going down the Collie to see the dam. And as I said, I've got
outstanding. It's fantastic.
I've got a long cord, so we'll be safe.
Well, make sure you post on I Ruined the Weekend.
Okay.
My Facebook group that I started, so that we're going to make sure that ScoMo gets a collection of photographs of EV owners ruining the weekend.
Yeah.
And the Wellington Dam appears to be quite popular. I think Florian was down there just a few weeks ago. Hey.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up though, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we were shown how to download the latest Tesla owner's manual. Been going through it, and I saw there where DC charging or regular DC charging is not good for your batteries. Has anyone got a comment on that? Is that an if? Maybe?
It's true to a degree if you do a hell of a lot of it. Yeah. But one good thing is the car actually keeps an account of how many times it's been fast DC charged.
Yeah.
It will then adjust its charging profile to suit the, let's call it the age of the battery or the amount of times it's been charged.
And the temperature? And the temperature as well?
And the temperature. So the short answer is no, it won't damage your battery.
Right.
What you may find is if you use a hell of a lot of it, such as people have done in Europe and the States, it'll simply just taper down a little bit more aggressively the way it charges. But it won't badly affect your battery.
And when we're talking superchargers, we're talking DC chargers.
Oh yes, sorry, yes, DC charging.
Yeah.
And in fact, there really is a difference between, say, the DC charging that we're mostly used to, which is, say, the 50 kilowatt chargers.
Yeah.
To if you've got, and this is going to be fantastic to see tomorrow, presuming the station opens, is cars that are a low state of charge and warmed up, which obviously if the pin isn't on your map yet, that will be an issue. But certain Model 3s will be able to charge at a peak rate of 1,600 kilometres per hour.
My God.
If they're in a low state of charge and nice and warm. If you come to the supercharger at, say, 10%, you will get an extraordinarily high rate of charge.
Yeah.
The great thing is, if you get there in 10%, nicely warmed up, in 15 minutes, you'll have the best part of more than 250 kilometres of added range.
My goodness.
Probably approaching actually close to 300 kilometres of added range.
It's not even enough time to go up and get a coffee from the cafe and then come back.
Get your skates on. That's right. That's right. And that's a great segue to something that we're going to encourage all members and all owners universally to do at Karana, because the first city supercharger is, please don't set your charge level up to 100%. Even if you've got an SR Plus and you can ordinarily do that, please set it to, be nice to all your other fellow Tesla owners and be reasonable. If you're only doing local, if it's for local purposes, you're charging just because you're driving around town, please don't set it much more than, 80 max, because that way it'll be a nice brief charge. And then you can, while you're shopping, you can just duck down to your car and just move it. There are so many parking bays under that car park. You'll easily be able to move it to another bay and then continue shopping. And in that way,
I've got visions. I've got visions of a line of Teslas going into the Karrinyup shopping centre, blocking it up tomorrow. I don't think I'd go anywhere near it for a while.
It'll be like the Woolies Caltex or whatever on Ranford Road on a cheap Tuesday night, where literally one lane is closed. There's a line half a kilometre down the road. Except they'll look at Tesla owners.
We got that free supercharging to use up.
And I haven't yet done the numbers. We'll do that for homework next week, but I predict there's going to be a tragedy of the commons, because you can imagine with 400 new cars coming on the streets every quarter, each having a 1,500 free kilometres of supercharging. You can almost imagine that just to get those cars through to use up their free juice every quarter is probably more than all of us combined, as far as, I think it's just going to be chockers.
Yes. Yeah.
But hey, at least the good thing is most of us don't need it, because we live at home and it's very cheap to charge at home. But if you're driving through, it's going to be awesome once it settles down. But you're right, man. It's just going to be chockers, And people are going to go, oh, look,
the next week or so, everyone's going to want to.
Another Tesla. Oh, another Tesla.
Yeah.
And by the time they get back,
somebody needs to go and take photographs tomorrow.
Sorry,
I'm working.
Somebody needs to take some photographs tomorrow, because it'll just be, it'll be Tesla City.
Yeah.
And they'll all be slinking past, silently going, oh no, it's full. Oh no, it's full.
Because your map should tell you it's full.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if it's even on the map, Tesla is famous for having superchargers at a site for, many days before it even appears on the map at all.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good pro tip too, is when it does appear on the map, do navigate to it. Even though you know where it is, absolutely navigate to it so it'll print your battery pack. Paul?
I have a problem. I'm too close.
You'll have to just go the long way.
Go via Eton or something.
Yeah. Just have a quick top up at Eton and then warm up your pack and come back.
Just drive around the shopping centre a few times. Like a plane will do a few circles until it gets go ahead to land.
They have like a banked Tesla track that you could pull about 5 Gs in a tight corner.
That would be awesome, actually. I'd love to do that.
Or could they have like those roll-on dynamometers and just do a few dyno runs just to make sure you're getting maximum output?
Just do a bit of Fast and Furious drives around the car park. To put it sideways. Don't try this at home. Or we're carrying up. But can I digress just a bit? I wanted to ask a dumb question, and seeing it's an Ask Me Anything, and I now own one of them. I wanted to ask about how much the thing drains overnight, or when it's so. I suspect it is Sentry mode and possibly some sort of rogue air conditioning going on.
No, it's all Sentry mode. You're right. You're dead right. In an SR Plus, if you leave Sentry mode on, bearing in mind you can actually turn that off. So if you go into your screen and you hit the car icon, and then you go into, I think it's safety and security, then you can actually, with Sentry mode, you can tick exclude home. So you go safety and security, and you scroll down, and you go exclude home. You can also exclude work. and you can exclude favorites.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
what you'll find is if you leave Sentry Mode on an SR Plus, you can lose, I think it's more than
Vast
11% of your range overnight. Oh, sorry, in 24 hours, right? Because
I lost quite a lot. I lost so I charged to 90% on Saturday. Now I did take the neighbor. I might have taken the neighbors for a joyride on Sunday, but aside from that, not very much. And it was down to 60% by yesterday.
Yes, so you lose 6 kilowatt hours. The full self-driving computer and cameras, while they're performing Sentry Mode tasks, use about 250 watts continually. And that adds up to about 6 kilowatts of lost capacity in 24 hours, which on SR Plus is about 11%. So like I said, definitely go into your car and just go, sorry. So just as a reminder, you hit the car icon on the bottom right-hand corner. You then go to safety and security. You scroll down. Oops, sorry. And you exclude home.
Harold, he'll be about 12% on Anne's car because he's got the Fremont.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes, so that's a significant difference. Oh, and by the way,
it's got less efficient.
What's also useful is for dash cam is to turn on the save clips on honk. So if you toot the horn because someone got in your way or something bad happened, that can be useful to actually have it record a clip, which you can then review by going, you see the little icon here, which is the dash cam icon, and you click on that, and it comes up with either save footage, that's if you're driving, or it comes up with launch viewer. So then you can click on launch viewer, and if I clicked it correctly, it would work, but it's not going to this minute. But anyway, it will launch the viewer. Sorry, I think this PowerPoint's just stopped. Anyway, it goes to launch viewer. It'll be one of other. There it is. So then you can actually see different camera angles. So you can see the front view, the rear, which if you tap on will make that full screen. And you can also see the left repeater and the right repeater camera.
Okay. Harold, have you got some sort of emulator there or just a bunch of screen scrapes?
Yes and yes. It's not an emulator. It's just a whole lot of images that were taken. As you can see, they're not perfect. But basically, anything you want to know. So, for instance, if you want to go in and watch YouTube videos, you can go into theatre, and that's working awesomely, or arcade and play games. But yeah, I haven't kept every single screenshot because this was about 60 photos with hyperlinks. Okay. But it's useful just to demonstrate. And for instance, if you want to know your tire pressures, you just swipe to the left.
Yeah, discovered that today.
And you'll see tire pressures. And if you go the other way, you'll also see your trip. And then you can go since last car charge or trip A or trip B. And then you can go back.
So now I just have to persuade my wife to go and take a drive in her car. She's a bit apprehensive about doing it, and she'll get there. Anyway, one more dumb question. Premium connectivity, worth it or no?
Joe, and you can tell Ant what you do.
Just when you want it, then activate it, and then like if you're going on holiday or something away from home, away from Wi-Fi, it's useful for watching Netflix and stuff when you're, staying in or going to lots of superchargers or something, and then just cancel it, and then because it stays active for the full month that you've just paid for. So like if you pay for it today, you'll have it for a month from today, but you can cancel it tomorrow and you'll still have it for the rest of the next 28 days.
Oh, okay.
It's good just to toggle it on and off when you need it, really. That's what we do.
Oh, okay.
And it's active straight away as well. So if you just find yourself out in the middle of nowhere and want to have connectivity, you can just activate it then and you'll get it straight away.
All right. And so for the rest of the time you use a hotspot on your phone, yeah?
We just don't use it. We don't really need it. You still get maps. You just don't get the satellite version of the maps. And you still get radio. You just don't get Spotify, but we just play music through our phones and Bluetooth the phone.
Yeah,
Using the car speaker as your Bluetooth speaker in a way. Or you can hotspot it if you want.
Yeah. And traffic aware navigation needs it as well, doesn't it, Joe? Or
it does, but what we discovered was in the background, it's still changing your route depending on the traffic.
Cool.
So because the freeway was blocked once and it told us to come a long way home. And we didn't understand why. And I looked up on Google Maps and saw that yes, the freeway was blocked, but it wasn't showing that on our map. So the traffic is still there and it will do your route accordingly, but you won't see it if you don't have.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, good to know.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Thank you for the advice.
If you want to stream via Bluetooth, of course, that's an easy setting that you can do. You've got the Bluetooth symbol. I presume you've enrolled your phone. But what you can do if there are two drivers is you can actually set your phone as a priority device or your wife's, so that if both phones are there simultaneously, it will automatically latch onto the preferred device, which is normally the device that the driver would have. Because if you want to receive a call, you want it to go through, through the car's stereo. But that's where you can also sync contacts and recent calls, and also messages. So the car can actually read messages as they come in, and you can actually respond to them using voice commands.
You just have to talk like a robot. So it doesn't understand my English accent maybe, but I do have to speak very clearly for it to say the right thing.
Actually, I asked it today to turn on the steering wheel heater, even though I've got the Fremont car, which didn't come with it.
You don't have one, I was going to say.
Yeah, but it didn't actually. It said this feature is not available yet.
Oh.
So maybe wonder whether they actually had the hardware in there and it's just been software locked or whatever.
No, what it means, Pete, is that spring and summer is on the way.
It means it's not available yet, Pete, until you upgrade your car to another one.
Hey, another thing on the Phantom Drain that Harold told me. I got into my car a few days ago and it lost 5% overnight. And I had my, turned off at home with Sentry and all that. And I'd used scheduled departure a few days before and I forgot to turn it off. So I got in the car and it wasn't cold. I thought, this is strange. And oh my goodness, my battery's gone down. So I'd left scheduled departure on and I'd lost, about 10% of my battery overnight because the car was nice and warm.
Because it did exactly what you told it to do.
Yeah, which I didn't need it to do. So, players.
But you can turn that off.
I did have scheduled charging on. Now that I remember, but I must just note that the car is tuned to the Australian accent, and I have absolute proof of that because I could not make it. And I heard that Joseph told me you could open the charge port by saying "open butthole," and try as I might, it could not. But when my kids said so, to much laughter, the charge port opened.
Yeah, there's a difference between scheduled departure and scheduled charging.
Oh yes. So you'll often see just scheduled departure, and that'll preheat your cabin or pre-cool it and precondition your battery. But then if you change it to scheduled, and you can schedule when that is, so that's normally when you want to leave home, but you can also change it to scheduled charging, which will tell the car at what time you want charging to start. And
We use that for the off-peak. So you charge it, get it to start at 11:15 p.m. So you're definitely into the off-peak time. That's useful, that one.
I think there was also another setting that you could also set off-peak tariffs for your scheduled. Here we go. Sorry, this is getting back to scheduled departure. In the settings, you can tell it to precondition and whether it's all week or weekdays, and also say when off-peak charging is, and you can change the off-peak hours. So, which is when it ends. So what it will basically do is, say you got cheap charging, well, the Synergy EV tariff is from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. You would enter in 4 a.m. here for the scheduled departure. So it would make sure that the car was fully charged at 4 a.m. and then later on it would continue on conditioning the car for your enjoyment, such as keeping it warm or cool just before you're due to leave. So have a little bit of a play with that in your cars. It sort of takes a little bit of time to get your mind around what it's doing. But as Richard found out, if you forget about it, you can get this mysterious sort of phantom drain that you sort of weren't aware of.
And I was going to ask, what driving mode have you set your car on? You know, how you can have hold, creep, or roll?
Sorry, there's creep, roll, and
hold. Hold is the regenerative.
Yeah, I've got hold.
Driving, the regenerative braking right down to the car coming to a full stop.
Yeah, I've got it on hold. With creep or roll, does it work like a normal automatic car or an older EV like the Kona?
Yeah, the creep's like an auto, like a ICE automatic, and roll is quite an unusual one. It's neutral, so the car just literally rolls. So, but yeah, the hold is my favourite. But a lot of people like it. It's the one that came through an over-the-air update probably about a year ago or so now. But that's effectively the single pedal driving, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's all I use now, I think that's one thing I must turn off before Catherine gets into the car, because that's getting used to something absolutely new like that might take some time. So I'll do that. But I do like it. It took me some getting used to that, to be honest.
And what I've done, my wife doesn't like driving my Tesla, but I have to make her do it sometimes so she knows how to. So now she's got in her settings, I've got a seat and all that set up and the steering wheel, but I have it on creep and chill mode. So it's like a normal car. So it's like a slow automatic. And that way she likes it.
Creep and chill. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and of course, Ange, you can have a different profile for each of you. So you don't have to change the setting globally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
wife's
when
name.
it says,
yep.
Yeah.
And you can, if you've got two key cards, you can link the profiles to one or other of the cards as well. So whoever unlocks the car will automatically set their profile, or their phone for that matter.
Or I was going to say the phone as well.
Yeah, that's right. So you can link a profile to a phone so that depending on who unlocks the car, it automatically chooses the right profile.
Okay.
These cars are far more cleverer than we are.
Better than the Kona anyway, Anne.
Sorry, what did you say about the Kona?
I just said the Tesla's better than the Kona, isn't it?
Oh, there's fighting words.
We've got bigger back seats.
I prefer the Kona.
My granddaughter is learning to drive at the moment. Her driving instructor said, and she really wants to drive my car. And the driving instructor said, for God's sake, don't do that. After you've driven the Tesla, you won't get used to driving it ICE again.
He's probably right.
Yep. You know, we're talking about the one pedal acceleration, deceleration. In particular. Yep.
It's true. I used to store the old work you every time I got into that.
Yeah. So you're the close boy.
Yeah.
Well, whenever I'd get into the Lexus, which we've got a Holden Volt as our second car with the Lexus to pull the caravan around, so it just sits in the shed for, you know, a couple of months at a time, and I'd get into it and I'd press the accelerator and then I'd let go and think, oh, I must have it in neutral, only to realise that no, it actually takes a little bit of time before it moves forward. I just need to keep my foot on the accelerator for a bit longer. You just get used to that instant torque in the in the performance. But one tip, and just maybe be careful on that creep mode, because I suppose she's got used to driving an EV. So, but people that aren't obviously used to driving an EV, you know, and are just that creep mode, you know, you don't hear the car and it starts moving as soon as you take your foot off the brake in some situations. So just to be extra careful with that, obviously.
I think so, and particularly for my L platers won't be driving the Tesla. It's just too different. Not for a while, and not just too different. The insurance costs are a lot more. As somebody pointed out in one of the groups earlier, the insurance went up at the RSE for a Tesla about 6 months ago, I believe, about 60%. And so my Kona insurance for the same insured value is far less, probably about 25% less. Speaking of which, I'm going to get, as soon as I get past probation at the RSE, I get 25% off insurance altogether. So that'll be great. We've all managed all the cars over there.
And I'm not sure if I've got this right, but my understanding is, might have just been a rumor, that one of the reasons why the premiums have gone up is RAC has been a little bit frustrated with a couple of the body shops in Perth overcharging. So, so apparently, there's a new body shop called Bowra, I believe, which is a certified Tesla repairer now, and seems like their pricing is a lot more reasonable.
Cool. Glad to hear it.
They're actually in Osborne Park, so they're handy to the service centre. And I think they're now a fully accredited panel beater of Tesla.
So apparently,
great news.
Yeah, apparently RAC reached out to Tesla and complained, and apparently, they've quickly authorised a third body shop.
Cool.
Which hopefully will be reflected in reduced premiums over time.
One would hope. Because at the moment it's just a 15% LEV discount because it's 2 years old, and I guess, or one and a half, I guess. So that's good, but still $1,300 in premium, which compared to Chris Cook's car, which he bought for a lot more, but he's paying $750. So there's the difference a couple of years makes.
It's hard to compare policies, obviously, between two different drivers, though, because even things like a postcode will have an impact on insurance premiums. Obviously, driving history and
the age of the driver.
Yeah, age of the driver. Yeah,
that's a big thing.
And perhaps even gender. So I think it's pretty well known that female drivers have got a better driving record than male drivers.
Who's like you, Pete? No, I'm only kidding. But the thing I'm comparing on, what I'm comparing on is the Kona versus the Tesla, which are literally marked at exactly the value, and it's me driving same postcode, everything. The Tesla's far more, and I might add my Kona is also marked as for rideshare. So you'd think that was a higher risk too, and yet the Kona's around, I think, 800 or 900, and the Tesla's 1300. So I think it does probably come down to that rather expensive Mirage.
I mean, that may be a factor. It may also, even though it's the same driver, same household, there could be a discrepancy between when you renewed your policy as to when your renewal date is. So that may play a role. But I've actually got the opposite experience. So my Lexus, which we barely drive, and it's worth less than the Tesla, it actually costs more to insure than the Tesla. So it's actually worth half as much as the Tesla, and it costs more to insure. So,
you know what to do about that, don't you? You know what to do about that.
Sell it.
Sell it and buy a Tesla, another Tesla.
Well, we've already got it for sale. We sold a caravan recently, so we've going to put it up for sale. So there's no need for it anymore. It's gathering dust in the shed, but at least it's not polluting the environment while it sits there. And so I took it off the road for about 4 years because it was it's a 5.7 litre V8. So it's been sitting in the shed for the last 3 or 4 years. It only came out 3 or 4 times a year for a road trip. So.
Well, hopefully in the next year or so, there'll be chargers that are ubiquitous, fast DC chargers for those road trips.
It wasn't necessarily road trips. It was when pulling a 2.5 ton caravan around. So.
Well, there'll be a Cybertruck in a few years, and you'll get a 7-ton caravan, a horse float.
Absolutely. I'll be able to pull 3 of those caravans behind the Supercharger. No, switch. We just got to make the payload. We just got to make the payload at least 2 ton.
Yes.
Get rid of the OC.
Anyone else got any other questions?
Harold, I know Steve Dax had his hand up a little while ago, and he's put it down again. I don't know if he's still.
Oh, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk with, or perhaps suggest to Ant in the RAC that he looks at the NRMA fast charging, because when I did the trip across to the east, the availability of the NRMA fast chargers was obviously far in excess of what the RSC is offering, Inglerbump, ChargeFox, etc. So it is it's a very valuable marketing activity for the RSC if it can increase its to something like the NRMA was doing. I know it's not the same size, but hey, it's still an automobile association.
Yeah, I'll be. You can count on me having a word with whoever has any influence there at some point or another. And I'm glad to know that there are 5 other EV drivers there that are obviously organised. I've only been there 3 days, I'll get in there and see what I can do.
The RSC have got another DC charger that they've added in Pemberton that I understand, Harold, you may know a bit more about.
Yes, I believe it's their last spare circuit control unit. In fact, I think Joseph should have been there by now. There you go. Good on you, Joseph.
You can always rely on Joseph.
And in fact, I'm about to eat my words because it's actually a brand new Tritium.
Oh, it is too.
I wrongly accused it of being an old circuit control, but it's a brand new Tritium.
Yeah. So there's a Tritium down at Mandurah. I don't know if you've mentioned that before, and which has just been installed.
No.
Sorry, a V-fill, yeah.
V-fill,
at Mandurah.
Yes. Tritium V-fill. It's so new. It's actually got the sticky thing on it. The protection to do that.
Yeah.
I was sure that Joseph would have torn that off by now. But perhaps
because
he has been there.
Joseph's actually asked. He's actually asked for all of the pictures of now my car to be removed from PlugShare. he wants to go and redo it again. Yeah. Oh look! Oh, nice picture, Joseph. Wow. And normally he doesn't take such a good picture, but that was a good one.
This one here.
The one middle left. Middle. Oh, that's a nice one too. He's been getting his technique. Right. That one, yeah.
Joseph was
Is that Joseph's one?
Sorry?
Was that Joseph's one?
I think that's Joseph's new one, isn't it? That's the creme de la.
Yeah, it's definitely an MIC. It's got the right.
It's brand new. It's still got the sticker, the economy sticker on it. That explains that it has 0 CO2 per kilometre.
Right.
So there you go. So well, that's interesting. So Mandurah and Pemberton, Mandurah's refurbished or replaced, and Pemberton is new. That's great.
Can we confirm? Sorry, can we confirm that Mandurah's working?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
It was as of the 28th of July, which is today.
And Joseph was there.
And
so
Joseph.
Hello?
It says 50 minutes, charges past 90, works with RFID card and app.
There you go.
So that's funny, Joseph. You don't have that car, but he has the Tesla. He does want to get that car. That's another story. But yeah, shout out to you, Joseph, for watching this later on. I trust you're enjoying the karaoke.
Hey, actually, speaking of which, that's just reminded me, I was speaking to Damon on Sunday, and so he's been watching all the episodes still, which is absolutely remarkable.
To Damon.
Damon, yes.
With the Damon with the burnt.
Here we go. There we go. Yes. But yeah, he actually mentioned that when we were talking about EVgo buying our PlugShare last week, there is one positive, which he picked up quite well, which is that they've committed to having one single standard for all the chargers. So one single app, and then, I mean, ideally we just have all the chargers being able to be turned on with a credit card, really. Yes. But one app's better than 4 or 5 apps, that's for sure, or one card. But yeah, that was one of the initiatives which could be positive. So presumably it's going to be an EVgo app, but
well, in Europe there's a big push for, I think it's HubJect, and the idea of that is that each charging station goes to HubJect, and they act as an OCPP, which stands for Open Charge Point Protocol server. And then if you come with your ChargeFox card, your NextCharge card, or EVgo or whoever, the transaction goes to one central place, which then reroutes that transaction to whichever home provider you are, a little bit like phone roaming. So it doesn't matter what provider you're with, it will eventually route your transaction to your home provider, and then get the charging to happen. So I think that's called, that standard or that service called HubJect in Europe. So maybe EVgo is going to do something similar.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
But I think, like you said originally, Pete, what's wrong with just having a PayWave credit card acceptor? PayWave acceptor.
Absolutely.
How awesome is that? You can do that with a $2 transaction at a parking meter.
Anyone can do that with an iPhone or an Android. You just buy the little reader. You know, I mean, it's we're in 2021 now, so
Well, you can go to Officeworks and buy a square for $100.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, let's hope that happens. But yeah, shout out to you, Damon. Love your car, nice colour, burnt orange. You know, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's good. It's okay. He won't. This is already our probably our third half hour, so he won't watch that for a few hours. Yeah. And speaking of people watching, shout out to Ashley. Thank you for watching. Hope we don't make you too sick when you're watching this. And to all those people with insomnia, you'll be off to sleep. You'll be off bye-byes, 9 eyes very soon. But yeah, we do obviously thank you for watching. It's all good. Remember to like and subscribe with the notification bell. And Nigel?
Patreon.
Or go into YouTube and join now, whatever that means. I think it actually means they get 30 cents in every dollar that you donate to us. So don't do that. Elon, you're welcome for a cash donation. It's okay. I'll give you a receipt later. Just send more cars.
Just one Tesla share will do fine. That'll be worth a fortune soon. One share a month.
Week? Come on, we're going to be worth one share a week. Come on.
Each
participant. Yes, that's true. So anyone else got any other comments or questions?
I've got something I've noticed since this latest update, which is 26.6 or 20, whatever it is.
25.
Yeah, I got it late last week, and it's got that new game in it.
Yep.
Now,
yeah, 25.6.
Yeah, some people I know have always had difficulty logging into YouTube on the screen. I've never got it to work. It's gone, no, you can't, this is not secure. So I gave up and I thought, oh, bugger it, I'm sitting outside waiting for an hour. I'm going to watch some of my YouTube subscriptions. I wonder if I can do it. I can't remember how. It's something like RuneScape or whatever. So I went into YouTube and go, all right, let's log in. Oh, shit. I used my Gmail, my password, and I hit subscription. I was in and playing everything. And I go, bloody hell, they might have fixed it.
So Nigel, you were watching Ask Us Anything on YouTube, on the Topway YouTube channel.
Yes, I was. No.
You're a good-looking rooster. You just love watching yourself on TV.
No, it just worked without having to go through other things to trick it. And I've only ever tried 2 or 3 times in the last 18 months. I was using my phone as the hotspot, which is what I've always done. Just sitting in the car park waiting. And I thought, bugger this, let's give it a whirl.
All right, cool. That's pretty good.
That was something. If other people could please confirm that with this particular update, it seems to be working all right, that would be great.
Actually, speaking of YouTube, one other thing that is useful to mention that most people might not realize is if you actually go into, say, one of our videos, which I'll just do briefly, and just pause it. But if you scroll down to show more, under the details, we've actually, and this is useful to do in the car, mind you. So if you got YouTube, go to Tokwa and just click on any video, and then you'll see these lower links, which are streaming sites that are compatible with the car. So you can look at iView, Disney, Plex, SBS On Demand, Stan, 7 Plus now, 9 Now, and 10 Play. So that's another way of getting through to those streaming services using YouTube as the Trojan horse. So just go into any one of our videos and don't necessarily subject yourself to the whole lot, although it is pretty good content anyway. And you can see the lower details. So that can be useful. So there you go. But yeah, good scoop, Nigel. I can't try to mine because I obviously logged in using that that website that you mentioned that I can't remember, and that did work at the time, but I had heard that it stopped working. So that's great if they've resolved that problem. That's awesome.
What version are you running, Nigel?
The absolute
25.6 by the sounds of.
Yeah, 25.6. It's got the new game on it.
Yes.
I,
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't play games.
Yeah, I gave that a go this morning, but the update actually made me late for work this morning. So
there was actually another update with that 25.6, which was an update to the comms with the power. If you have a power wall, so if the power's out and you're running your house on backup, it won't charge your car. It will preference your. It will save the battery for the house. So if the power goes out and you're expecting to still charge your car off the power wall, then you need to do that manually because it will now save the power in the battery for the house.
That's good, and that includes all the current generation high power wall connectors. Is that right, Pete? So you don't need to worry about getting the new Gen 3 wall connector.
Yes, I'm not 100% sure, but 99.9% sure. Yeah.
Correct.
Cool. That's pretty clever. Anyone else got a question, comment? Go, Paul.
You know how last week I was talking about my rear defroster not working, sort of stuff?
Yes.
I sent off a service request via the app, and they diagnosed at the same sort of time the computer's disabled it because there's a small crack in the rear windscreen in the right hand corner, like just crossed the line of the loop, and so the computer just went nah. So they're going to change the rear windscreen this Friday under warranty.
Ooh. Wow, that's pretty clever, hey?
Yeah, great and annoying.
So they diagnosed that remotely, Paul, did they?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
I did that.
hell.
Went into work,
You've got a cracked screen.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, okay. So that's it.
It's good to know, and it's great that's under warranty. You know, obviously it must have been a stress crack or something like that. That's
because you can't feel it. You can see it, but you can't feel it on the inside and the outside. So it's definitely it's delaminated in the middle. So yeah.
Yeah. Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
Anyone else had any other service good bits or whatever, or anything else?
My Tesla batteries did a software update 2 days ago, I believe, and they reduced themselves down to 3 kilowatts per battery outputting. So I rang up Bradford Energy today. Within 15 minutes, Tesla put them back to 5 kilowatts per battery output. Explained that was a software update that would have caused it to go to 3 kilowatts. So yeah, I thought that was pretty fast. 15 minutes is all fixed. So
yeah, good. That's good. Thankfully, they obliged and didn't say they had to leave it the way it was. But that's good to hear.
Oh no, I think it's because it's at 5 and it's been at 5 a long time now per battery. But yeah, if I was in Adelaide, it would have been 7.5 per battery. But anywhere else in the world except for Perth.
Oh, and speaking of other places in the world, Cousins are doing a virtual power plant in California. I think they're doing a pilot version of that. I mean, Adelaide has it as well.
They do.
But it's sort of interesting because that way you can actually earn. Tesla are offering it as a no reward, no fee, or that they don't get paid. So they're also asking the homeowners to donate some of the resources of the power wall to support the grid. And Tesla said they're doing this freely at this stage to the grid as a community service. But I think in in Adelaide, it's actually as part of, you get a discounted power bill to utilise your Powerwall as a grid support virtual power plant. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, nice one, Tesla. It's amazing what you can do with a software switch. You can just couple of taps on the keyboard and fix it up.
Fixed.
Jared, I've got a question for you, mate. Hey, I've got 3 phase on now. I've got 2 Powerwalls. I know you've got 3, but mine have always been limited since I've had that changeover to 3 kilowatts.
Yeah, they won't change it from 3 to 5 until it's balanced, until there's another Powerwall on. So
okay.
And
you got one on each phase.
Correct. Yeah, correct. That's the only way they changed it to 5 kilowatts per battery.
Which is bullshit, because if you have a single phase, you can have it on 5. It's just crap.
Yeah, if you lived anywhere else apart from in Western Australia, which is Czechoslovakia, basically you would have 7.5 kilowatts coming off your battery. So, but because we're run by one power company, we have no competition. We have to bend down and take their rule. So, what I do with the battery now is I just buy the power after 9 o'clock at 14 point something cents, load up the batteries by 2 o'clock, and then leave about 20% excess, and then just back it up with the sun in the morning, and then that will run all day, and then get me past 9 o'clock and start over again. So
the reason for that and why it's different between single and 3 phase is it's a load. It's a phase balancing requirement. It's a Western Power rule. Yeah. So it's a requirement where you can't have more than a 2.5 kilowatt imbalance between any 2 phases. So if you had 5 kilowatts on 1 phase and then 0 on the second one and 0 on the third one, there's obviously more than 2.5 between 2 phases. So.
I mean, I've got a 15 kilowatt system at home. And we got 40 panels on the roof, so we get plenty of power coming through in summer, and in winter we just have to reserve it and buy the power cheap, which I didn't know about until I went to one of the things to find out that you could do that, and that's been a good thing. So yeah, buy the power, Richard. Load it up into your battery after 9 o'clock.
With the same thing, clock.
So, Richard, you're breaking up a little bit there.
Same thing happening.
Just got to start that again. Your internet. Someone stepped on your optic cable.
One of the settings, customize, and you have powered, which you do in the same winter. It's got advanced time-based control. Got it set that it won't charge the battery at 7 o'clock at night.
Oh, until 11
losing me.
Right. Yes.
And it'll put like 50% into my batteries, so that I'm drawing power, sun power or cheap grid power.
Right. Yes. Most of that was broken up. So I'm gathering you're filling up your Powerwall at 11 p.m. on the EV tariff, and then charge it up. Yeah. Cool. It sounds like what you need to have, is Starlink, which segues nicely to what it's doing. This is a shout out to Damon. Look, those are red circles. Unlike
why are they red?
Although these little bits look like burnt orange. They've actually announced, or we can see that they've got Cataby as a station and Merredin as another station. What I found out is that Cataby and Merredin haven't been approved by their respective councils yet, and they've only recently been approved by ACMA, the Australian Media
Communications
Authority.
Yeah.
But Wagen has been approved by council, and I think I mentioned this previously on a previous show, back in about March this year, and Telstra because Telstra is actually building it, they were told by the council, or it was minuted that they were told in April of the approval, but they haven't built yet. So we won't be getting Starlink, unfortunately, for a little while yet, until at least Melbourne has been built. But as you can see, you know, there are so many satellites there now that will have really good coverage because there's virtually very few gaps anymore right around the world. So Richard, you'll be sounding much better when you've got that little Starlink dish on your roof.
They're 2 weeks, Richard.
I've just changed my 5G hotspot. Is that in
2 weeks?
No more people stepping on your cable.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? I just changed my 5G hotspot.
You did?
Yeah, it's much better. Yeah.
Wireless. Much better with wireless.
Yeah. NBN, don't we love it?
Yes. Yes, exactly. In fact, I did actually see an ad on the TV for some telecommunications company. They seem to be spruiking mainly for schools for some reason, or part of their ad mentioned schools, and actually said that as part of the package, you get free Starlink service, which I thought was pretty cool considering that Starlink isn't kind of here yet, but I guess that ad might have had a little asterisk in the corner.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, coming soon.
1 month, maybe 3 months, definitely.
Yes. But yeah, so back to the Starlink very briefly, yeah, we're still waiting for Wagen, which is why those of us that reserved dishes or services, we haven't seen our hardware because there's obviously no ground station to support it yet, unlike in the Eastern Seaboard.
But Harold, certain areas cannot get Starlink here, like in Perth Central and so on. I'm just inside the area that can't get it. If I move 2 streets down or 3 streets down, I'm just outside that area and I'm allowed to have Starlink. There's some telecommunications rule at the moment that affects certain areas that cannot get Starlink, I believe.
When did you apply or try or look, Nigel?
I stuck in my expression of interest and I got an email saying you can have it, but that was much earlier on this year. And my internet connection, apart from tonight, has been very good and it's been very fast. So I haven't bothered.
Nigel,
I did see a map where a few streets down past there could get it, but where I am, I'm not allowed it.
Is that south of you?
Yes.
I just wonder if they've basically declared Perth to be full. When I say Perth, Greater Perth to be full, and then...
Sorry, Harold and Nigel, sorry, I remember I'm kind of half been listening to the conversation, but the I'm pretty sure that SpaceX haven't applied for the license to cover metro areas in Australia. Like they haven't, it's not that they haven't, they've been applied and refused it, they haven't even applied for it.
That's interesting because I've actually I've paid my money. I've got
no, so have I.
Oh, okay. But Nigel said that he can't even apply. He's can't.
No, I did apply, but then when they sent me the email, I didn't bother following it up. So I haven't sent them any money or said, yes, send me the dish or anything. But I do remember reading recently that certain metro areas cannot get it because they haven't been granted the license.
The thing is, though, that I mean, there might be some politics going into this as well, but what it is not designed to do is cover people in metro areas. Now, I want it anyway because, you know, the potential download bandwidth is 3 times greater than what I can even get, even on a very good connection here. And also, it's funding Mars colonies and all that. So, you know, there's a altruistic side of it as well. But yeah, I guess it depends whether SpaceX wants to start threatening metro providers, you know, when it's not really for that. So I don't know if they apply for that license, great. If not, I can understand why they wouldn't.
I think they would. It's just, they've stated the obvious, which is in any built-up area there is a maximum number per
contention ratio.
Yeah, per radius or circle radius, and if that happens to coincide with a high-density city, it means by definition you can only have a tiny portion of those inhabitants. So they were talking about, you know, how you basically applied your expression of interest or you paid your deposit. I think there was something along the lines of everyone who's done that thus far has got a slot, like they've got a ticket and they will get service. But
I would hope so.
Further service.
Don't forget that there'll also be people like police, military, and rescue services that will need roaming ability, because the New South Wales police already are using Starlink, and they're obviously roaming around. So they'll be using those allocations within a region.
Yes, and that's a programmed limitation at the moment, which was you sort of can't take your dish, which is eminently portable. You can't take it out of a relatively restricted region of where your address, where you said your address was. But that's only a technical reason that they haven't bothered with universal roaming, which is just a software update. But at the moment, the satellites know to talk to your dish if they're in a certain region of the sky above you. But eventually it'll be universal where you can take your dish wherever you like. However, you might be restricted in service if you took your dish to another urban area and that urban area was fully subscribed to ordinary people, not emergency services or military or others, aeroplanes. So then, obviously you might be restricted. You could take a caravan into the bush where there's unlimited bandwidth, effectively, but maybe not to another major city. It might then lose service. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe they could offer a premium urban roaming service to limit people doing it. You know, have a price signal that if you want to take your dish into Adelaide and use it, maybe you need to pay more. That's interesting, Richard. So at the moment they haven't apparently applied or been granted a major city telecommunications license thingy.
Correct.
Cool. Well, like, unfortunately, you know, because we don't have a base station, I don't think you can have. I don't even think if the police wanted to use it here, they could, because I think it relies on a nearby ground station. And the one that's closest to being built is the one in Wagen, which will have nine satellite dishes.
At the moment, what it will do is it will ping up to whatever your closest satellite is, and then down to wherever the closest ground station connects. A good connection to the internet. But I think Musk said in about 1 or 2 versions time of the satellites, they will start integrating laser communication between them. And that's when it really will pick up, because then say you're playing a game on a server in, I don't know, Tunisia, for example, the quickest way will be up to the satellite, across the satellites, and then down. Whereas at the moment it's still just going back down to the, to the regular internet, which generally follows coastlines. So even with Starlink, we're only on version 1. Whereas the service will get significantly better over the years.
Yes, absolutely. Trying to look up the minutes of because they've actually got the documents on the Wagen, Shire of Wagen website, and it actually shows the layout. So you've got 2 rows, one's got 5 dishes and the other one's got 4 in like a small compound next to the post office and telephone exchange. So rather than driving there, I've been looking via satellite images to see if there's any hint of a couple of pixels changing colour. to show that there's some, you know, brand new white dishes there, but not yet. But anyway, so yeah, so Richard, once you do get that dish, oh, what's that, Rob?
You're on mute.
No, I'm just waving to Richard's baby.
Oh, that was very meta. Richard's baby, when he's an adult, will have universal net everywhere.
His first computer game was beach buggy racing in the car.
Well, and he'll be driven around in a third generation Cybertruck.
Well, he's never been
I know, Richard, you don't believe it, but in a self-driving Cybertruck.
I'm very skeptical. 5 to 10 years, maybe.
1 month, maybe 3 months, definitely, Richard.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
But yes, James will know nothing other than plugging cars in. Because why would you do anything else?
I'll be induction by then.
Well, the cars will be
maybe
plug themselves in as well with the snake.
Yeah. You just drive over a pad.
Or wireless, yeah.
There's no doubt about that. The induction is a bit harder because it's not very efficient. You know, it's about 70% efficient. Sorry, I think it's 80 or 90% efficient. So it's actually better for the environment if you just plug it in. But obviously, as we know, Tesla actually have a snake that actually charges all by itself.
I'm pretty impressed how quickly you found that, Harold.
That's a nice looking car.
Yeah, I've got a great producer.
This is pretty cool, isn't it?
It looks
and quite old now. Quite a few years ago.
Yeah. Oh, there he goes.
Good to see that the trim line's up on there just about as well as mine does.
It looks quite snake-like. It really is a snake. It's pretty cool. And unfortunately, I mean that video was made. That was published.
Yeah, at least a couple of years, wasn't it?
And the rest, in fact, Rob Dean hadn't even had his car yet because this was published on the 6th of August, 2015.
Oh wow!
That's how old it is.
Wow.
So, I presume they probably put it on pause because, like Elon says, anyone can make a prototype, but to actually build it in mass production and make it work, it's a lot harder. And I guess you could see there'd be a lot of points of failure there, and you know.
Hey Harold, I would have thought that 6 years ago they were still going down the route of the battery swapping. You know how they had that one station in
Harris Ranch.
That's the one.
Yeah, and that was ironic because Tesla, well, you know, they had all the technology, they made the station, but I think a lot of people were like in the old days with LPG cylinders where people preferred to keep their own and just refill it. So, you know, perhaps it was a technology that was a bit too soon, or perhaps it was a bit too late because people had realized that supercharging is so awesome that they didn't have to do it. So I was actually trying to get a clean version of it and I've failed. I'd have to look for it manually, but there is another YouTube channel that I think showed it. And I haven't seen this yet.
What about Tesla stations? Do you prefer faster or quick?
Oh, this is the battery swapping demo.
Yeah.
So these are two cars, obviously the Audi and the Tesla.
We built a gas station. The gas station's on the big screen, and there's the battery pack and it's swapped out. Since we've got some extra time, let's do another one. Now, we searched Albany for the fastest gas station, which is 10 gallons a minute. And we told the hobby there, we were saying, go as fast as you can.
And there you go. So that was a 3-minute wee break. But yeah, super fast. But people just didn't use it. They probably preferred to have their own pack that they knew what they did to than get a random pack from someone else.
That's what Neo is doing in China.
Interestingly too, and they're doing it in a sea container system where they've got battery packs slotted in a stack. I think they can charge a certain number of packs per day, so there's a limited sort of turnover. I think one of the things I was freaking is they don't have a very large grid capacity use. So you could sort of just deploy them almost as portable or transportable units. But look, perhaps Neo will find out that people just rather have their own pack, or if there's any substantial cost, it just won't be worth it.
Well, it's also the thing of that's 5 cars that are not being sold,
Yes, well, and that's precisely what Tesla is up against at the moment. They literally, if they had more batteries, they'd sell more cars or more mega packs. What a great problem to have. The only thing limiting your exponential growth is your requirement for an exponential amount of resources. you know. So, you know, go BHP, get that nickel into Tesla. And well, actually, I heard, actually, that was a little bit of news, but it's not specifically Tesla related, but it is part of what Tesla's a beneficiary long term. Is I think Joe Biden has announced a $54 billion investment in chip fabricating factories in the US. Problem is, as Elon Musk said, I think it was in the earnings call. Yeah, it takes about 18 months to build a fab. And the funny thing was, he said, if we built a fab, which I'm actually quite confident Tesla could do if they put their mind to it, it's just a whole lot of advanced robotics and other things and a lot of money, it would still take 18 months. You know, and that's the problem with that sort of semiconductor stuff. These shortages have happened several times over the last 3 decades, and they can get quite bleak because if those fab making plant companies, and I think there's one large one, I forget its name, I think it might start with A, and it's a company you've never heard of, but they actually make the fabs for Samsung and Intel and AMD and all the others. It's a massive undertaking to build a fabrication plant. It costs billions, dozens of billions of dollars and a lot of time. And if you underestimate or get the demand forecast wrong, then there's going to be a massive shortage, or you might have a massive oversupply and go broke because you're not getting that return on investment. But yeah, that's where, you know, getting back to the start of the show, the fact that Tesla had such extraordinary financial results in Q2, in spite of dire shortages. I think some of the car companies were announcing things like, I think entire models of cars where the production was being suspended sort of indefinitely because they just didn't have parts. And I think Elon Musk actually mentioned a airbag module that, you know, there was a shortage of. And the thing is, every car has to leave with one in it. You can't build one without it. So
apparently they've got 10,000 cars that are still waiting on a part. It's something that can be retrofitted by service, so they're still shipping the cars out, but there'll come a point when they cause a bottleneck because, you know.
And where do you put them? You know, it's, oh, sorry, you said, so in other words, they would ship to the customer and that part was not essential and they could be.
No, I don't think they were, able to be delivered. So they had to keep them somewhere until the part arrived. But yeah, they could distribute them rather than it clogging up the car parking spaces of the factories. But yeah, still.
That gives Gordon Johnson a nice picture to say nobody wants to buy these cars.
And JP Morgan, interestingly, increased their price target.
To what TP?
Oh, I think it was by a whopping $20 from.
$25.
But 25 was it? But yeah, but that's based. That's quite a big percentage for them because I think their initial target was about $160.
So you mean they might be worth $185 now?
Oh, yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
In 12 months' time?
In 12, yeah.
Awesome. I'd buy a few Tesla shares at $185 today. I'd love to. In fact, just a shout out, Elon, if you're short of cash, you got to pay a few tax bills or fund a rocket or something, I'll take as many shares off you at $185 as you want to sell me. I can't pay for them up front if that's okay. Just give me, 10 days and I'll sort you out.
Have you seen his new house?
Give me 2 weeks.
Have you seen his new $50,000 house?
And then I'll pay you all that money and look, I'll love you forever. You know, we'll even give you a shout out on this program every week just for that generosity.
I'll be in that.
I've got an interesting story happened to me a couple of days ago.
Go, Richard.
Am I coming through clear or not at the moment?
Yeah, clear.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
This one for you, Jared. You know, I'm always doing modifications on my car.
Oh, yes.
Well, I drove home after the huge storm and down on near Lake Mungo, there's a puddle that was probably, I reckon it was 12 inches deep, and I went through it, no problems. I've got an electric car, no dramas. It was fine. Got home, got up to go to the gym in the morning, and I'm driving out and there's this scraping noise. I thought, oh, don't tell me I've got a rusty disc. So I put the brakes on and that didn't make any difference. Drove back down, looked under the car. What's that hanging down? Anyway, my under tray, I think there must have been one of the bolts missing because a third of the under tray is bent back and it's gone under itself. So I had to jack. I've got 2 trolley jacks. I jacked the side of the car up, bent it back, and I found it. I had to put a new bolt in where it bolts up and fit now. But yeah, don't go through too heavy puddles because it you know, like the old back bumper used to fall off. Well, it was a bit of the same at the front, but not the bumper. The next panel. So
Now, see, Richard, now I know why your car was so fast.
because
It was missing all these parts. It was extra light.
one light, yeah.
All these screws.
Like that, yeah. Wasn't quite that deep. That's a ripper, that one.
That's the China one, isn't it? Is that the China one, Harold?
Yes, that's
How
in
fast is
China.
that wheel going?
Man, he's pushing it.
He's gunning that. It must be rear-wheel drive, not an all-wheel drive.
Rear wheel, yes, rear wheel.
Is he spinning the wheels? Is he? Or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why the wheel's going up. Yeah.
Only in China.
There's also another one.
Oh yeah, the power wave.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's good. That's good.
Oh,
Hey,
That's a good-
Yeah, it's gold.
yeah, I think that's it on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so go, Richard. Yes, it's, there was a great video of that Lamborghini or something in LA that went through a puddle and the whole back just detached and just on an on-ramp to a freeway or something.
I must say there is a benefit to having a low supercar like a Lambo. I saw a YouTube clip where he was coming out of a car park and he was so low, even the top of the roof, that he went straight underneath the
Boom gate.
didn't have parking.
I'll tell you another little story. 100 years ago, I had a +2 Elan, Lotus Elan, and I was driving down towards Riverside Drive, and I heard on the radio, it was at night, said, "Beware, Riverside Drive's flooded." So I slowed down, and just as I slowed down, bush, I hit this water, you know, maybe 40 k's an hour, and the whole car just stopped, and my feet got wet. My feet got wet. It splished. So and it killed the motor. I had to get out with a WD-40 and spray them. I got the car going, but it actually came into the cabin where my feet were. It splashed in. It didn't come in via the doors. It's a Lotus. They got holes fucking everywhere. But anyway, but that was a long time ago.
Jesus.
But I got it going and drove off. That was all right.
There was a horse or anything, was it, Richard?
Sorry, say again?
You didn't see a horse and carriage next to you 100 years ago, was it?
Yeah, no, they hadn't invented carriages yet.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking where the water came through.
I just found it. It's
There it is.
Well, I was about that deep. That's funny. Yeah, that's good.
oh, how's this?
Some co-workers in Russia had to de-ice their cars. You will never complain about having to scratch your windshield from ice in the morning ever again.
It's all right. If you've got a Tesla, you just turn your heater on for about 24 hours.
Look at this.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, let's move there. That's where I want to live.
That's what happens if you put the ceramic coating on.
That's somewhere like Yakutsk, which is the coldest town or city in the world, I think.
I've been there.
You've been there.
I have. Only because it was in risk.
Sorry, who said that? Who's been there?
Richard.
No, I've been there. I've been there in winter, in fact. I know, and I hate the cold.
Oh dear. Cool.
It is almost like
Alrighty. Anyone else got any other comments or questions or quirks or stuff?
Yeah, I've got a question. How do I get an upgrade on my car, as in the software upgrade? How do I do that? Do I have to do it manually, or does it do it automatically itself?
It's automatic.
So it's automatic, and it should say what on the bottom of my phone. The version I've got 2021.4.18.2. There's a lot of numbers. 6.
In the Model 3, because definitely in the Model S, you can put it to advanced, and then you get the software updates as soon as they're released. Is it the same in the 3?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. If you go to the car and then go software, and you go a little bit lower, you go advanced.
Advanced, okay.
When you do that and you do the little highlight button, it sort of claims that you get software updates sooner. It's probably a placebo.
Yeah.
There's no evidence whatsoever that any setting makes any difference.
I would tend to disagree a little bit with that, because I mean, I got my 25.6 or whatever last week, and I've got mine set on advance, and I was noticing before I changed it, which was over a year ago, I was hearing all these people getting all this, in a week or two later I got it. As soon as I changed that, I was then the one saying to people, sorry Jared, I've had it for a week.
I would say
what you got a photo of Elon behind you. That's why you've been getting it quicker. There's no doubt about that.
Because he's got Elon in his ear.
I would say, Jared, I've noticed that often you'll get a software update and then you'll get another one quite soon afterwards that fixes all the things that they broke in that software update.
Oh, great. Okay.
So maybe that might be having the advanced on. So, putting it out to people that are brave enough to install it straight away, and then finding out those problems, and then very quickly
get a
working.
notification or something once it's been updated in your car?
Yeah, you get it in the car
You'll
on the
know.
screen with a little
alarm.
Yeah.
Your
or
phone
you
will
also
also
get
get a
it on the
notification.
app. My app about 8 o'clock in the morning goes beep beep, and I look at my phone. It goes, "You've got a software update." So I go, "Okay, install." So it's on the app in the phone as well, and it's the top one when it appears.
Just keep in mind, Jared, it takes on average roughly about 25 minutes for the upgrade or the update. So, and usually, I mean, you can't really drive the car during that time. So if you're planning on being somewhere or leaving home, leave at least, half an hour, 40 minutes.
Yep. But it does it automatically?
No, it invites you to install it.
Oh, okay. So you've got to install it. Okay.
Bit like your phone when a software update comes for the phone operating system.
I better go
But
check.
it tells you how long it will take as well.
Okay.
So it tells you can't drive for the time that it takes.
Okay. Thanks for that. Yeah, I haven't done it yet. I haven't actually upgraded it, so I should do that now.
Yeah, Jared, when you look at the app, the top one at the moment is phone key, then it's climate controls. It actually appears above the phone key and saying software update available. And click on that and install now.
Because on my phone, on the app, there's no phone key. And then,
it will only appear when your car has downloaded it and it's ready. And it's got to be attached to Wi-Fi at home to download it. And I usually get a notification in the morning
Okay.
that it's ready, and then I install it.
Okay, I better go turn it on the car then, because obviously I haven't got it turned on. That would explain that.
And
What do you mean turned on?
Well, I haven't seen any update sent to my phone in notification wise about an update.
Well, if you've got 18 dot whatever, that was the one before the current one, which is 25.6, I think.
Oh, okay.
You will get the notification on the app.
Okay.
You don't have to have the car on. My car's gone to sleep in the garage, and if there was one available, it would download it through my Wi-Fi.
Right, okay.
Nigel, have you got yours on advanced or on standard setting?
I've got it on advanced.
Yeah,
I've
Jared.
got it on standard, so that's probably what it is.
No, you get it anyway. I get mine, and then it tells you you can install it now. It takes 40 minutes and you can't drive. Or would you like to schedule it for 2 a.m. tonight? And you choose, but it tells you.
Okay.
I've done quite a few.
I haven't seen one yet.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, because you've just recently got your car, haven't you?
Yeah, correct.
We've had ours for a while, because this is what happened when Seb's brother got his new car. He was getting the updates quite a bit after us, because the car's got to like catch up.
Right.
So it comes with whatever update it came with, and then we were just finding, because his car was new, he'd only had it a few weeks, and then he wasn't getting the latest update until quite a bit later.
Okay.
I don't know
And
whether
the number of updates has dropped dramatically in the
yeah.
last 3 months since they've been trialing out beta version 8, now version 9. We used to be getting an update almost weekly. Now it's once every 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
That explains that.
How long you had your car now, Jared?
We got it in July, so yeah. Got it, sorry, first week of June. So what am I saying? July, first week of June.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, this update has only just been out for a week or so, and before that, we hadn't got one for, well, probably since you got your car.
Yeah, right. That would explain it.
Hey, Jared, it's really exciting, but sometimes it just says minor bug fix and you get really bummed out about it.
It's been like that for months. The only thing this one did was give us an extra game.
Oh, that's good. My wife likes the game. She likes the backgammon game. She thinks it's great.
Well, Richard, you mentioned that it often says minor bug fixes. Some of those aren't that minor, so they can be quite just like important updates that Tesla just don't say as being important, they just say minor. But I think there's behavior around things like if you open the door while you're in drive, it'll go into park automatically and things like that, where they don't wave a big flag saying that was a improvement for obvious reasons. The funny thing with updates is, for instance, my wife's S has got 2012.12.25, and yet my car, an X, has 2021.4.18. So it's completely different. So, different cars or different models just get completely different cadence of updates. But as Speed said before, since the FSD beta, obviously Tesla are putting most of their efforts into that development cycle, and our cars are sort of getting a lower rate of improvement until we get it too. And Elon has said one day we will get the button to say, give us FSD beta.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Or 3 months, maybe 6 months, definitely.
Or 2 weeks.
Well, I think it might have been the same year that Perth was first promised a supercharger that Elon said that there would be a demonstration full self-driving road trip from LA to New York. I think that was back in 2017.
Yep.
And well, unlike Perth, hopefully in one sleep's time, they're still waiting, and for that promise, and we will have a supercharger tomorrow. But anyway, anything else, peoples, at this later hour? Has Tesla opened, Pete? They must have opened for trading, surely. Yeah.
They're up a little bit, but it's only marginal. Nothing to write home about.
Oh, they are. I showed them down at minus 0.38, but that's okay.
Where's the share at the moment?
642.31.
642.
Looking at the futures, yeah, they're down 0.4. Yeah, same. Yeah. 642. Yeah.
Harold, I actually have a question.
Yes, Joe.
It was for ages ago, but I couldn't get a word in. So rewind all the way back to talk about Karen Up.
Go on.
It's just a quick one. With the Karen Up supercharger, where you were saying how, when you go to a supercharger, you precondition on your way, because obviously I'm quite far from it. What if, because it's really going to be really busy, you get there and then you can't, and so you have to park up and wait? Is that your preconditioning just all gone then, or how long does it hold the preconditioning for?
No, so I think it holds for quite a while. So, well, actually, Joe, you've got a Freemax SR Plus.
Yeah.
So actually, for you, it's less important than the Shanghai, or less important in winter than for the Shanghai SR Plus or Shanghai Model 3s. When you precondition on the way to the supercharger, what the car does is usually deliberately doesn't cool the battery. So it lets it warm up to, I think it's about 40 degrees roughly, to get ideal supercharging temperatures. So if you weren't that far from the supercharger, it would then actually actively heat the battery. So it would, the Model 3s have they derive the heat through the motors. The S's and X's derive heat from a specific battery heating coil or heater. But basically, you navigate there. It'll warm you. It'll either actively warm your battery, or it will stop it from being actively cooled to get to a certain temperature. When you get there and you're stopped, waiting in line, or you're parked, your battery will retain most of that heat naturally, because it's not designed to reject a lot of heat with no airflow. So yeah, you'll be fine if you have to wait, 20 minutes or so. It won't really affect it.
Cool. Yeah, it was just a question because, obviously we've only ever used the Eaton supercharger and just driven there and then pulled up, so never actually stopped. And I didn't know what happened when you stopped, whether that just undid everything you'd done.
I'm not sure what would happen if, say, you were outside in a made in China Model 3 and you had your heater on, because the heater, and they found this in Norway or in Europe, on the Model Ys, which first had the heat pump, and now the Model 3, which got the heat pump, it would suck the heat out of, and I think, not Jared, Shane found this when he went down the Darling Scarp, that with the heater on, it would actively suck the heat out of the battery to try and provide the most economical, best economy of battery usage when you're trying to heat the cabin. So rather than trying to draw the heat from the cold air flowing through the radiator, it would actually suck the heat out of the battery and put it into the cabin. So that's very bad if you were to supercharge. But I think if you were, outside of Karen Up and it was cold in a new made in China Model 3, I presume if you kept navigating to the supercharger, even though you're not there, and you were, the aircon was running, it would deliberately not suck the heat out of the battery. But in your case, if you're parked and the aircon's off, well, your case doesn't matter, but in a new car, as long as your aircon's off, it won't affect your preconditioning. So you should be okay.
Okay.
Harold, my question would be, if someone goes up to Karrinyup to top up their car, right? So I drive out of my garage, I spend 5 minutes going to Karrinyup, fill my car. Does it matter if it takes 25 minutes or 35 minutes? Not if I go shopping. It doesn't make any difference. Why bother?
Oh, yes, and it depends on your metric. That's right. If you're on a road trip, time is of the essence. If you're shopping, then you've got the reverse pressure.
Yeah.
Having said that, then of course, I guess let's just say, we'll put it this way: tomorrow, I guarantee you, if the Supercharger's open, well, actually, even if it's not open, there'll be 100 Teslas driving past having a look. And if it is open, there'll be 94 Teslas driving past going, oh, it's full, oh, it's full, oh, it's full. We really want people to use it with a view to getting other people through as well in a reasonable time. So rather than charging a car, like saying, I'm going to shop for an hour, so I'm going to turn up with 10%, and I'm going to set my charge level to 100%, because then it'll take a full hour before my car fully trickle charges up to the very top, which is what the old long ranges and Fremont NCA battery chemistry Model 3s do. Thankfully, and a shout out to Andy, who brought this to my attention via Bjorn Nyland. He's actually worked out that the made in China SR Pluses with the LFP batteries, they are actually fairly quick to charge to 100%. They actually take, I think it's something like 11 kilowatts at the very end, at the very, very end. Whereas most of the other cars are very, very slow at the very top part, because they're literally jamming one electron in at a time almost. But what we don't want is for Karrinyup to be chockers because someone decided it was a great idea to not unplug at 80 or 90% and stay for another 10% and take almost as much time as the first 60% that they put into their car. We don't want it to be so busy that people get frustrated and overly frustrated. I mean, at the start, look, it's going to be chockers. People will be curious. A lot of people with new cars have got 1,500 Ks of free supercharging that's burning a hole in their Tesla account because time's running out, because most of us haven't gotten down to Eton, because it makes no sense to live in Perth and to charge your car in Eton and come back home, because you end up with less charge in your car than when you left home. So yeah, let's just hope that, I wouldn't say common sense and being good to each other sort of dominates over the tragedy of the commons. But you're right, Richard. As far as absolute time, it doesn't really matter if your car's not preconditioned. But if you wanted to sort of get in and out quickly, like you're just ducked in, or you just want to use up your free Ks and get on with your life, then you do want to precondition so as to minimise the time spent there.
I've got a question, Harold, if you don't mind.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, what do you think the business case is for Karrinyup Shopping Centre to take on hosting the superchargers? I mean, obviously, they're going to.
Sorry, what was the first part? Would you say?
The business. So I was going to say, what do you think the business case is? Because obviously they're going to get a small amount of extra custom, but I mean that's in the noise, right? So what's the real business case for them? Is it kind of prestige or publicity? What do you think?
Well, the thing is, the business case, Tesla. Look, obviously Tesla would be happy to put a supercharger in a suitable location for at no cost to themselves, if that's what the shopping centre offered. Now, I don't know what the arrangement is between Tesla and Karrinyup shops or AMP, holdings. But it could be anywhere between Karrinyup actually paying Tesla to have the supercharger there because, you've got higher net worth individuals with premium cars that are an asset. So it could be as on one extreme, it would be the host paying Tesla to host the chargers, to perhaps like a zero sum. It might be a lease for $0 because it's, again, mutually beneficial. Or I think it's often Tesla pays money in a lease to have the supercharger located there. So I guess you could say, Andy, that the business case depends on which way it went. I've heard in America that in some locations, I think some hotel locations, often superchargers can be a bit of a liability because a lot of road tripping Tesla owners will hook up, walk in, go straight to the toilet, and that's it. They don't buy a coffee, they don't buy a meal, they just hop back in their cars. And these days they can watch YouTube videos and Netflix and stuff. So they're basically getting the supercharging as that's just the destination, that's what they're doing. And they'll use the toilet for free and walk back to their cars, and that's it. So I guess those locations, unless Tesla were paying them money to rent the land, it's probably a net negative for them, unfortunately.
There are studies that show that a EV driver tends to stay longer, or when they're driving an EV, they tend to prolong their visit at the shops. And the shopping centres, the rents with the tenants are usually structured such that the shopping centre gets a percentage of the shop's takings as rent. So, it's the same reason why a shopping centre would provide free Wi-Fi, toilets or what have you. So, the more comfortable, the better they can make you. And shopping centres these days are more centred around the experience, the shopping experience rather than just the product. So
there's certainly an opportunity at a supercharger to perhaps have a coffee. So that would be good for the local coffee shop in that area. And I think a lot of things, shopping centres, a lot of their metric is passing foot traffic. So they have people counters on various sections of the shopping centre, and they literally count numbers of legs going through, or bodies. And sometimes the rent is proportional. There's a portion of it that is proportional to passing traffic, because in a sense that's an opportunity that each tenant can take advantage of. And you're right, Pete, they do absolutely effectively take a portion of your, it's not profit, it's turnover. They're not too concerned about profit. They're more concerned about what you turn over.
They're not too concerned if you don't make any money, as long as they're making it.
No, sadly, and look, I think Dick Smith was famous for this. When he started Dick Smith Electronics back in the 70s, he literally refused to house any of his shops in shopping centres. He'd instead go on the high street and get his own shop for much lower rent, because shopping centres sadly are basically wealth redistribution machines. And how many times do you see small shops pop up and go away, and it's a little bit like a house that gets demolished. You sort of forget what was there until the next one comes.
One of the reasons why that happens is, let's say you set up a sock business, or ice creamery or what have you, and you're a mum and pop shop, then you've conditioned customers who regularly shop in that shopping centre to go to that specific shop for ice cream. So when the shopping centre chain is trying to lure a tenant, which might be a national chain, and they have 4 or 5 ice creamery mum and pop shops in some of their shopping centres, they can say, well, we can give you these 5 spots where you're already got people conditioned to go in there for ice cream. and that's a big advantage because it can take 3, 6, 9 months for that to occur. And what they do then is just raise the rent on the, mum and pop shop, and the national chains move in, and that's why the shops that are in one shopping centre are the same as shops in another shopping centre. That's why we have they're fairly boring that way, and they're all fairly similar.
And that's worldwide. It's flat. The whole world's
worldwide. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
People used to go to Singapore for certain things, and it's like, well, you go there and the shop, you go, oh, it must just be in a suburb of Perth. It's exactly the same. But yeah, so Andy, so getting back to the business case, I guess it kind of depends. There's some prestige, but we just don't know. It's entirely plausible and possible that either Tesla are paying Karen are paying Tesla, or something in between.
Yeah, well, if nothing else, no doubt the shopping centre isn't paying for the electricity like, say another one is like Woolworths or whatever, right? So,
yes.
it's again, it's in the noise, but I guess it's just part of the jigsaw puzzle, which is the commercial basis of the whole shopping centre model, right?
Well, and I think one advantage there might be is it might actually be cheaper for Tesla to put their supercharger, bearing in mind there are 6 stalls at 250 kilowatt capacity. So that's 1.5 megawatts of power. Normally, Western Power will charge a capacity usage charge of about $1,000 per additional kilowatt. So that's $1.5 million of capacity charge, which Tesla might be able to avoid in the shopping centre, because the shopping centre is such a massive load that when they do a usage factor, or whatever you call it, a load factor, it might, I wouldn't say it's a rounding error, but it would be a much smaller portion of the total power. So the uplift factor is a lot less. So it's probably substantially cheaper for Tesla to house their superchargers at a major load, such as a shopping centre, than at a greenfields car park in the middle of nowhere, or on a block of land it's somewhere all by itself. Because Western Power would say, well, we need to put a mini substation or a transformer and all that sort of stuff. A bit like Williams, Woolshed. They've probably had to pay a fair bit to upgrade power nearby. Whereas at Karrinyup, from what I saw when I drove around weeks ago, they've got at least 6 substations with 22 kilovolt feeders going in different parts of the building. 6 substations.
Karrinyup's electricity bills will be in the 8 figures. So,
so Tesla's stuff will
annually.
Won't be that substantial. But yeah, Andy, Tesla will definitely be paying for the power. They do pay for power. But whether they're paying rent or not, no one knows.
So, I mean, 6 spots out of what, 6,000 or however many that have, it's really negligible from that perspective.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're prime spots either. So, it's.
Actually, that's one good thing, is unlike many other ground level shopping centres, at least these stalls are actually well away from the action. So they're not close, well, they're not far, but they're not right next to, the escalators or whatever. They're actually some distance away. So, there's no issue with it sort of being in a prime spot where it's, people want to isolate or anything like that, or there's excessive cars, coming in and out.
What do people think about this theory? I think that the actual charger itself is pretty an imposing thing for Tesla, but the other types of chargers aren't imposing. So I think for what I think there's less likely that people are going to ice Tesla charging points. What do you think?
Good point. Yeah, I agree.
Yes, they're well lit. They're prominent. Look, it'll probably happen. It's bound to happen. There'll be, some people will militantly do it, but I dare say that, well, actually, it's interesting because most shopping centres, it's difficult for them to actually police bad parking behaviour. I mean, they can register the whole place with someone like who's that parking company? Wilson Security, sorry. And they can do fines and all that sort of stuff. But in essence, it all goes through the civil courts. So
they do have the ability to. So the shopping centre can effectively just dob the person into the local council, and then the local council has the ability to infringe the offending parking person.
Yeah, but it's a convoluted, it's not a direct, it's not like if it's a disabled bay. Now, here's a great subject. If it's a disabled bay that's marked, there are $2,000 fines, and that is universally policed simply by regulation. If you park in a disabled bay and you're observed, you get the fine. It's easily processed. If you don't pay it, it goes to fines enforcement, etc., etc. What would be great is if EV parking bays, which are far fewer than, say, and different to petrol station bays or petrol bowser bays, if they had a similar protection, or at least a parallel category as disabled bays, so that if a car that is not charging or not an EV occupies that bay, there ought to be an easily sanctioned penalty as a deterrent for bad behaviour. I think it was a shout out to Jason Stanley who tweeted out page 61 of the state government's, I think it's the 20-year infrastructure plan. It was really ironic. It was a photo, and I actually tweeted back in response to say that the irony was excruciating. It was an image of the Mount Pleasant Woolworths charger, and I'm going to very quickly, if that's at all possible. Oh, here we go. There it is. Awesome.
Complete nice hole.
Here's the image, right? So this is it's recommendation 61 on page 195 of this document. And it sort of says expand the rollout of charging infrastructure on government land and buildings, including at train stations, car parks, and supporting the private sector to provide charging infrastructure, including in the Perth CBD, through the Perth Parking Management Act 1999. Now that's really interesting that they invoke a parking act and through planning system policy reforms. Now this is a photo of the two double-headed Schneider chargers in the underground car park of the Woolworths in Mount Pleasant. And what do you see? You see an ICE car not charging and occupying a bay. Now, if that irony isn't excruciating, I don't know what is. That the West Australian government, in their state infrastructure strategy, put in this image of effective EV charging infrastructure, highlighting that a fossil fuel car is, well, if it's not illegally parked, it's certainly inappropriately parked. And they thought that was a great photo to highlight the infrastructure that the state government wants to see deployed everywhere. Yeah, that was a classic. Hey Jared, that's almost like a Western Power-esque rant.
Yeah, they're sort of working on the same principle. They're trying hard. Yeah.
Just the irony. It's
Oh yeah. So compatible, that's for sure. So Richard, are you putting charging in your batteries? Or what are you doing with it?
So in summer, I imagine I'll have so many photons, I'll charge my car, my house, everything, no problem. But in winter, I'm not getting enough solar to power my house. So I'm grabbing a bit of cheap power from 11 till 4, and it does it automatically. So I wake up when my battery's sort of half full, and it judges it very well. And then so by 5 o'clock, the battery's full or nearly full, and then it just discharges till 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 or 1, and then it recharges again. So if there's not enough solar, it uses cheaper. I'm using nighttime power during the day.
Yeah, I'm doing the same, putting in it just after 9.
Or if you're on your EV tariff, you do after 11.
Oh, I'm on the other tariff, the battery, I think it's the corruption tariff. It's a new tariff they've got going. I'm on that tariff. Yeah, guy comes around with a bag and you give him the money. That one.
Oh, that's because it used to be you give them the drugs, but I guess
that's changed. It's changed.
Bring up the rack. That's good.
New technology. It's all changed. So you're on the other tariff, so it's from 9 till 7 in the morning.
Right.
Yes, but don't
point something cents.
But don't draw a single unit between 3 and 9.
No. My last bill I got, and I drew 2 hours, and it was $1 something for 2 hours.
That's
don't know what happened there.
That's enough for one Powerwall now, isn't it? With that
that's it. Well, that's that's it. So there you go. That explains that. So you just set it up automatically to do that.
I just did it on the app. I thought, that's clever.
On that time advanced. Yeah, well, I've been doing it manually every night.
Yeah, no,
change it.
Custom. And you set up in your app when your peak power is.
Yeah.
We won't charge the batteries on peak power.
So does it automatically know what the weather's going to be and predict what your solar's producing? And
it seems to have worked. I don't know, but it's been raining for the last 3 weeks. Let's face it.
Even so, it still rains. We still produce power from the solar panels.
Oh, not much.
We're still bringing in. Well, I've got 40 panels, so we're still bringing in. 10% is still coming in. Even when it's raining and there's no sun, there's still 10%. So if I load up to 80-90%, it's always full by 5 o'clock, and then it starts discharging, sort of thing, at this and this. But in summer, it's a whole different ballgame. It's full by 12 o'clock. 3 batteries completely full. Then I'm going to put my own supercharger at the front and give everyone free power.
Hang on a sec. Hang on. What time is it? I'll timestamp that, and I'll.
In 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be putting up free power.
I actually, it's no secret that Jason works for a certain company that turns pea gravel into white powder. That's very useful for making aluminium. And I keep telling him that he needs to get himself a small, laboratory-sized aluminium smelter with his surplus electricity, because aluminium is classically known as solid electricity.
That's it.
So that's what you should do, Jared. There's plenty of pea gravel around.
I just get very upset when I see it going out. I have no feeding tariff, and not that I'm chasing the 7 cents, but I just hate seeing it going back out.
I'll give you a
Everything goes on when that happens. So
you're just a sick man, Jared.
I am. Yeah, I'm definitely. I bought a dishwasher that has got Wi-Fi connection. New laid dishwasher, strictly for one reason only: that I can turn it on remotely when I see the power is out of control and it's going out the door. Then I turn the dishwasher on.
I just bought a washing machine and a clothes dryer that's got Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
So it'll tell me about 5 seconds before the beeper goes off that the washing's done. Like, I'll get the vibration on the watch, and then 5 seconds later, the beeper will go off.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Jared, is a relay, and it sends me a notification, when it's finished and the whole lot. So
exactly. So go, Pete.
Oh no, I was saying to Jared that what you need is a Bitcoin miner that you can program to only turn itself on when you'd be feeding power into the grid, and that way you can effectively you can effectively have a feed-in tariff, because the Bitcoin miner will produce money for you, and it will only do it when you'd be otherwise exporting the power into the grid. So you can have you can manufacture your own feed-in tariff that way.
Sounds like a good idea. A summer project. Definitely
In
a
your
summer
spare
project.
time.
Yeah, spare time in summer, definitely.
And look, it'd be profitable, because the biggest cost is not the equipment, but is the energy cost, and your energy cost would be zero, because you're not getting a feed-in tariff for it.
Yeah.
And you'd only be using the power that you'd otherwise be giving away for free anyway.
Exactly.
So yeah, so you'd have one of the lowest cost Bitcoin miners out there.
I always wonder how many factories around Welshpool and that have solar on their roof, and how much power goes back to Western Power on the weekends when those factories aren't working, but they're making power and just sending it back to the grid. How much power Western Power is receiving back?
It's funny you mentioned Welshpool. I actually did a system there, which was the 4th largest rooftop at the time. It was 523 kilowatts. Yeah, I mean, they do operate, you know, they have a load that goes 7 days a week, but yeah, they're not as busy on weekends as they are during the week, but yeah.
Send a lot back out to the grid, I'm sure, so.
The thing is, Joe, every unit you send to the grid, Synergy are selling next door.
Yeah, that's right. Well, not next door, because I run an extension lead in some of my next door neighbours.
You mean in a parallel universe, that would be a good idea.
Yeah,
But it does mean they don't have to burn 1 kilo of coal, so that's good.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the thing is, the transmission cost is almost zero, because there's virtually no loss between your panels and next door, or down the road. Whereas from Muja to here, there is significant loss.
There'd be a lot of voltage dropout, that's for sure.
Let alone from Collie.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's Muja. Sorry, Pete. That's the Muja.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's all all good. All good. Well, I guess you could say, arguably, if there were wind turbines in Albany, at times those electrons could find their way up to here.
Yeah, or Geraldton, Greenough.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
It's not windy up there, is it?
Have you seen the trees that are always horizontal? Like they grow up to a certain level and then they just go.
They give up. That's right.
They just give up. Cool. Well, it's about 10:20 for Damon. I don't know what time it is, because it's a half-hour slot sometime between now and next week. But thanks for watching anyway.
I think he's an early adopter. He gets to watch it before we record it.
That's very deep.
Time to go. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful week. Enjoy the supercharging tomorrow. Pete, if you can just stand by for a sec, we'll say goodbye to everyone else, and have a wonderful week. And we'll see you at St. George.
See you on Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll all be there.
Which will be awesome.
Yeah, we'll be there.
So for everyone in YouTube, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you everyone for watching. Ashley, Damon, Joseph, everyone else, Elon. Like and subscribe. Get us on Patreon. Everyone else, have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you later.
You too. Great
All right.
night.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.